Good evening, and thank you for attending. My name is Deborah Exner, and I will be the moderator for this evening's candidate debate. Joining me is Ms. Paula Thomas, from the Arizona Clean Elections Commission. The Citizens Clean Election Commission is the sponsor for this evening's event, and the Clean Elections Act is a campaign finance reform measure initiated by Arizona citizens and passed by voters in 1998. Participation as a clean elections candidate is strictly voluntary. The system provides full funding for qualified candidates who agree to abide by the Clean Elections Act and rules. To qualify for funding, participating candidates must illustrate the support of their constituents by gathering $5 qualifying contributions from registered voters in their legislative district. The candidates agree to adhere to contribution and spending limits and may not accept money from special interest groups. They also agree to participate in these debates. As we move into the debate, we encourage audience questions. If you have questions, please print them clearly on the card given to you as you entered and hold it up. One of our volunteers will pick up the cards and deliver them to me. We screen questions for clarity, to eliminate duplications, speeches, or personal attacks on candidates. If you need another card, just raise your hand. The debate is scheduled for 1 hour, so we may not get to all of the audience questions, but we will do our best. There's an independent timer who will see that all the candidates have equal time to answer questions and will tell them when their time is up. Our format this evening will be opening statements for 2 minutes, a quick lightning round, 2 minutes to answer audience questions, 2 minutes to answer candidate-to-candidate questions, and closing statements for 2 minutes. We ask that you remain polite to all of the candidates and give them a fair and uninterrupted hearing, no matter how strongly you may agree or disagree with anything that's being said. This means no applause, outbursts, or cheers, except when we introduce the candidates the first time. This is especially important as closed captioning services will be made available after the debate for those individuals that are hearing impaired. As such, I will refer to each candidate by their full name prior to each question and ask that the candidates speak clearly into their microphone. Our candidates this evening are Ms. Crystal Nuttle, Republican running for state senator. Mr. Martin Quezada, Democrat running for state senator. Mr. Richard Andrade, Democrat running for state representative. Mr. Aaron Borders, Republican running for state representative. And Ms. Ceci Velasquez, Democrat running for state representative. The order in which the candidates will speak has been determined by alphabetical order by last name, starting with the Senate, and will progress from that starting point. The closing order will be determined by reverse alphabetical order by last name. Ms. Crystal Nuttle, will you start with opening remarks, please?
Yes. As to why I'm running for Senate, there's so many reasons. And the number one reason is that politics is not working. So I am running as a stateswoman and not a politician. I love families. A nation is as strong as its family's units, and I'm all about strengthening the family. And I have a passion for to be the voice of the constituents. They need to be represented responsibly. And I believe there is such severe issues. We live in a critical day in America. America is no longer in the emergency room. They're in intensive care. And I am so outraged that this last, the news event that is not really being spoken about is the beheading in Oklahoma as a average work incident of someone going postal. It's actually a terrorist, full-blown terrorist of the ISS. And I'm just saying, we need to get back to what works. And I love Patrick Henry. He said, America was not founded on religions, but on the gospel of Jesus Christ. And that, my friends, is what's going to help us get through these awful times in America and be safe and to have our children safe and our families. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Martin Quezada.
Well, thank you all for being here. My name is Martin Quezada. I'm your state representative here in District 29. I want to welcome you to District 29 and thank you for coming out to this debate. I'm always glad to see people that are interested in what your candidates are up to and what we hope to bring to the table. Thank you to Clean Elections as well. I am a big supporter of our Clean Elections system. I'm a former Clean Elections participant, and I have always been a Clean Elections supporter at the legislature, and I will continue to be so. I do want to thank you for your votes in the primary election. I take that as a statement that you want me to move forward in this process, and I take that to heart, and I will do my best to be the best candidate here in the general and to be the best state senator once I am elected. I ask for your votes in the general election for the same 3 reasons that I ran in the primary. Number one, I am the most qualified candidate up here. I am an attorney. I've served in the state legislature now for 2.5 years, and I worked in the state legislature for 5 years prior to that. I've worked in the Court of Appeals, working for a judge, and I've got the ability to handle the job and be effective at it. Number two, I'm the most energetic candidate. I can hit the ground running. I've been running full strength ever since I've been appointed to the legislature in March of 2012. And third, I've already been the most successful. I've been one of the few Democrats in the legislature to actually get a bill passed by the legislature and signed by the governor. It shows an ability to work with Republicans and with Democrats and to be effective in moving legislation forward. I've been promoted to leadership, both as chair of the Latino caucus and as the ranking member of 2 powerful committees, the Judiciary and the Government Committees. And I have the potential to continue displaying leadership if I'm reelected. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Richard Andrade.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Richard Andrade, and the reason I'm running for office is because I've been here in the West Valley for some time. I was stationed out at Luke Air Force Base. So I've been here over 30 years, and I have seen many changes on the West Valley. Bad changes. More families are struggling to make a living. Putting away money for a rainy day is increasingly difficult. I have seen other changes I have seen. 1070, 1062, legislation that targets specific groups of people. It is wrong that we target people because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. The one thing that really got me wanting to run for office as well is when my wife Sally got stricken with breast cancer. I always ask myself, how are people living today without insurance? Today, our state has expanded access Medicaid to thousands of people that now have medical coverage. But every time I open up a newspaper and I read about what they're trying to do to us, another thing that really gets me upset is cuts to education. Businesses and corporations want to move to Arizona, but they will not move here until we improve our education because our schools, let's face it, are near the bottom. We need to fund education. We voted in 2000 to fund education. So let's quit making these attacks on our education. Let's improve it, and let's get Arizona's economy going by making sure we have a skilled workforce, which many, many corporations want. Thank you. I look forward to answering a lot of your questions this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Aaron Borders.
Thanks again for everybody coming out. I too appreciate the community getting involved and wanting to hear from their candidates and hold us accountable to what our visions are for this district. And I do thank Richard for his service. I'm a big fan of veterans, and I do appreciate his service. The reason I'm a father of 4, all under the age of 12. And I'm heavily invested in the success of the state because I'm invested in their future. They're public school students, and I want to see the best public school system, second to none in Arizona. I was not really that active when it came to running for office. I was kind of a cheerleader of sorts of other candidates. But when I decided to run in our district here, it was because I saw a void that I wanted to step up and make our voice be heard. As a Republican candidate, we've constantly had 2 Democrats represent us. Oftentimes, no Republican even run. And I'm running not to specifically oppose one or another, but to offer a choice as to if you are in line with the views that I hold and the views I bring to the table, you actually will have a choice this November. I've worked at the legislature quite a bit, helping pass many bills that are in the benefit of our district and the constituents of Arizona. And so I look forward to explaining my positions and where I come from as a business owner, small business owner, as a job creator in the private sector, and how I can bring that experience to the Capitol. So when we put bills in place, we're actually having the perspective of someone who's had to live by these rules. So it gives a different perspective, and I look forward to answering all questions and being able to share who I am and where I come from.
Thank you. Ms. Ceci Velasquez.
Thank you, everyone, for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us here this evening. I really appreciate it. My name is Ceci Velasquez, and I'm a working single mother, a proud Latina, a paralegal, and your next legislator. A little bit about myself. I am a third-generation Arizona. I grew up in two parts of Phoenix, the West Valley, which is Maryvale, and Central Phoenix with my mother. I'm very proud of my roots and my strong heritage. I'm committed to serving our community. My professional field is in the legal realm. I'm a paralegal, and I'm in the field of family law, dependency law, criminal law, and I'm familiar with election law. Prior to working in the private sector, I did work for the state of Arizona for over 10 years. And let me tell you, that was pretty difficult to see families coming in and out, struggling, seeing the struggles every day. Anyhow, the tenure at the state helped me cultivate my passion to help our community in a greater way. I feel your issues are my issues, and I will fight for the most vital issues that the families in LD29 do face on a daily basis, because I know those issues. That's why I'm at the legislature. I will fight for women and families, and we need a voice. Women need a voice at the Capitol. I will represent working families and working single parents. So I thank you again for coming out tonight and listening to our stories and to our issues and our beliefs. Thank you.
Thank you. In an attempt to lighten the mood for tonight's debate, we're going to do a quick lightning round of this or that. This will allow you to get to know the candidates a little bit more. Please answer with just one word. We'll start with Mr. Martin Quezada. Droid, iPhone, or Windows?
Droid.
Okay. Mr. Richard Andrade. CNN, Fox News, or MSNBC?
MSNBC.
Mr. Aaron Borders. Facebook or Twitter?
Ooh, both?
Okay, it's one word. Ms. Ceci Velasquez. Mac or PC?
PC.
And Ms. Crystal Nuttle. Lumberjack, Sun Devil, or Wildcat?
Wildcat.
Okay, thank you.
I feel like one.
So our first question for the evening is, what experience do you bring to the table that your opponents don't? We'll start with Mr. Richard Andrade.
What experience do I bring to the table that my opponents do not? That's just it. I do bring life experience to the table. I've been around a lot longer than they have, age-wise. And with that said, I've experienced many things. Like I said, I was in the Air Force, so I've been a military man. I've also worked at fast food restaurants, making low wages, no benefits. I worked for an aerospace company and got laid off from them. And finally, I hired out as a certified locomotive engineer with the railroad. A good paying job with good health care. That's what I bring to the table, because I've experienced a lot of things many people go through in our district, in our community today. Working low-paying jobs, working multiple jobs, working jobs where there's no benefits, no retirement, no health care. That's what I'm going to be able to fight for, because I understand, especially when it comes to health care. Breast cancer costs $250,000. If it wasn't for insurance and the Access Medicaid expansion, many people now have affordable health care. So that's what I'm going to be able to fight for. And the one thing I really believe in as well is equal rights for everybody. I do not like this legislation that's being introduced that targets specific groups of people. Come on, let's quit doing that. We're all human beings. Let's take care of each other. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Aaron Borders.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. A little bit about myself. I was out of high school when I was 15 and started college. I was out of college when I was 18 and walked when I was 19. I got married when I was 19 and, you know, started in life learning how to handle what challenges come your way as a married husband and a father. And I went from being a block mason to running a construction company. By the time we were 2 years into being owner of the construction company, we were the second largest in our county. Built 27 homes, had to deal with regulations and over cumbersome rules and ideals that hampered my business, didn't help my business by any means. And then moved into the insurance field after 2008. And that's where I actually started going around government, because we started seeing some major issues in the insurance industry that just needed updated right here in Arizona. We were the only state on multiple levels that didn't do a lot of things. And that was one time where I worked with both sides of the aisle and helped pass, with help of legislatures, over 24 insurance bills, 16 bills that affected families, 8 bills that helped our access system, 8 bills that were specifically directed towards veterans, and 14 bills that helped our education system. And these were bills that I worked on both sides of the aisle with, and I think that's something I bring to the table is, you know, I'm about good ideas prevailing no matter what party puts them up, and I'm against bad ideas being stopped, again, no matter what party is putting them up. And I've showed that working in the legislature, oftentimes having to butt heads with people in my own party for the betterment of the state of Arizona and the district.
Thank you. Ms. Ceci Velasquez.
Yes, what I bring to the table is that I'm a working single mom, and it is difficult on a daily basis. I'm constantly having to juggle this bill with that bill and what's going to get paid, and I get things done. So failure is not even an option in my family, and that's what I'll bring to the House is when we're voting and working on the state budget, I'm going to put our priorities first. Again, I do get things done. My family is important to me, and my state's important to me. So having my community, our community at heart, I know I'm going to get things done at the Capitol.
Thank you. Ms. Crystal Nuttle.
Hi, okay. Yes, I have a heartfelt passion to lay my liberties and my freedoms down for children and families, and I have done so. In 2000, my testimony in the House of Representatives passed the block bill of a parent that's a non-custodial parent that has just reasonable belief that their child is in danger by the acting custodial parent, that they can remove that child and not be without prosecution. And all parties are in agreement with that legislation. Governor Hall signed it into law, and Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, all the above loves that type of legislation because indeed it gives the family strength and it gives them safety. And so I have a proven track record that I'm a public servant that has laid my liberties and my freedoms down for families already. And that's just a track record I have, and I've not done it just for my own children, I've done it for other children as well, and for their family that wants their children protected from legislation and the government that has really failed them in the system, you know, like CPS. And so I believe that my track record is there as far as my passion to be a voice for we the people and truly, truly have their heart interests presented publicly to the legislation and to our government. And I love to wake up we the people and just say, you have the empowerment to enforce government to remove guardians that are corrupt and replace them with guards that will really keep America
you.
safe. Thank you.
Mr. Martin Quezada.
What experience do I bring to the table that others don't? It really falls into 3 separate categories: my technical experience, my professional experience, and my community experience. Technically, I'm the only one up here that has actually worked as staff at the legislature for 5 years. Over 5 years, I staffed the legislature where I helped the legislators understand the process that they were going through, understand the bills that they were dealing with, and help them make informed votes. I staffed several different areas while at the legislature: judiciary, family services, commerce, rural affairs, public institutions, and veterans affairs. Those were all issues that I had to become an expert in order to help legislators make informed votes. I also became an expert at the process. I made a promise when I first ran for office that if I was elected, I would hit the ground running. That's exactly what I did. I stepped in, and after only being in office for 1 week, in the middle of a session, I was debating one of the most complex bills that the legislature had seen that entire year. That was the governor's personnel reform bill. I was debating that bill on the floor after only being in office for 1 week, and I was offering amendments to that bill to try to improve it. My professional background, in terms of my legal experience, I'm one of the few attorneys that are actually serving in the House at all. There's only a handful of us, single-digit numbers. That gives me a very valuable perspective and a very valuable take on how to approach different issues, and other members seek that experience from me. I've also worked on the Court of Appeals, where I had an opportunity to see how judges interpret the laws that we actually pass and make judgments on those laws. That's very important because if you have that perspective, you can create better laws in the first place before those are challenged in court. And lastly, my community experience. I am a sole practitioner attorney. I work with families every single day in court that are facing difficult issues that range all across the spectrum, from family law to criminal law to civil law. And I deal with them on those issues every single day. They gain my trust. They understand that I can help them get things done. And lastly, in that area, I'm also a small business owner. So I know what it means to be a small business owner because I do run my own business. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is, the state currently spends 43% of the budget on education. If more money is needed to fund education, then how much more is needed and where will that money come from? And we'll start off with Mr. Aaron Borders.
You said 43% of our budget is that? That's not correct. 5.5 billion dollars of our 8.5 billion dollars was spent on education. That would be 65% of our budget was spent on education. So basically, the reality is, I've looked at things as a parent. I have kids in public schools, and I'm a numbers guy for a living now, so I'm pretty good at counting beans, so to speak. And I looked at this school districts in our district, and what I found was money wasn't making it to the classroom. And, just a few sessions ago, or maybe it was last session, they run together, it seems, but they tried to get a bill passed where 50% of the education funding must make it to the classroom. And that was balked at and scoffed at as, really, 50% has to go to the classroom? Well, as a parent with 2 children in public schools, I think the least we could do is get the money in the classroom, where the kids, the teachers who are dealing with the brunt of the problems, they're reaching in their own back pockets, buying materials and those sorts of things. I think that's where we really need to, reform the system, so to speak. It's not so much of a financial problem as needing more revenue to schools, nearly as much as it's a financial management problem. We are at this point back to 2008 levels in funding with less students enrolled than we had in 2008.
Thank you. Ms. Ceci Velasquez.
Could you repeat the question?
Sure.
Used on the numbers there.
The state currently spends 43% of the budget on education. If more money is needed to fund education, then how much more is needed and where will the money come from?
Okay, so, well, I'm not sure of the numbers. I'm going to kind of listen to what Mr. Bordy says as far as the 65% goes. That sounds a lot better. Unfortunately, I don't have the answers as far as getting where the money is going to come from. I know that there's money in the rainy day fund. There's, reforms being done as we speak to get education back on track. I recently spent time at a high school, and it starts early education. It starts in the middle schools. I spoke to many high school teachers saying that these kids aren't coming unprepared. So if we're going to send them to high schools where, we're paying, putting more money out there to the 12 or, 9th grade to 12th schools, we need to really prepare these kids at the K through 8 and the middle schools. So we're not, it's almost like preventative care to where let's just start these kids off early on where we're not going to be paying so much and when they're in high school. Work on, retaining the kids instead of them looking towards, I think it's an after-school program for regaining credits. That's, we're spending money on, these teachers are staying after school till 5:30, 6 o'clock at night for these kids that are trying to catch up and do their, do some of their makeup work. So I see that's where that's going to come from, is perhaps making the curriculum a lot better at the freshman level, anywhere from the 7th to 8th grade and freshman level, get them ready for high school, and let's eliminate maybe some of those after-school programs that are trying to do this credit recovery.
Thank you. Ms. Crystal Nuttle.
Well, I understand there's 3.1 billion past due monies due to the children and the teachers, and I would say follow the money. There is a cloak and dagger cover-up where the money really is spent and where it's funneled. If you follow the money and go to the best, the interest groups and the frivolous spending and the pork spending, you will be amazed on the money that you will come up with, probably over the amount of 3.1 billion to put back in our children's lives. And it's just troubling, it's disturbing. I can't find enough words to describe it. I'd be here all night. To really know the money, where did it go? It go into a black hole? I know it lined some administrators' pockets. And that needs to be dealt with in a forensic, investigative way. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martin Quezada.
Well, I think, first of all, I think we need to move away from this argument that because the state's budget is X percentage public education, that's a significant part of the budget, therefore we don't need to do more. That's a ridiculous argument to make at all. I mean, and I would compare that, I would analogize that to your family's budget. Your biggest bill in your family budget is probably your mortgage, right? Your mortgage payment, your house payment. Are you telling me that you would not be willing to spend probably a little more to move into a safer neighborhood, make some cuts in other areas, maybe your cable bill, maybe your other bills, in order to spend a little bit more to move into a safer neighborhood? That's what's happening in our state government right now. We've got a certain percentage that we're spending in education, but our kids are not in the best possible circumstance that they could be, and we could invest more. And that's what it is. It's an investment. We could invest more if we made responsible cuts and responsible decisions in other parts of our budget. We aren't doing that right now. As far as the percentage of money that goes into the classroom, again, this is something that really should be dealt with at a local level, and that is a problem that must be concerned. Every district has different circumstances in which they have to put different amounts of money in the classroom versus different amounts of money elsewhere. It would be fantastic if 90% of our budget went to the classroom, but then we probably wouldn't have roofs over our heads, we wouldn't have school buses, we wouldn't have textbooks. So that budget is a very flexible process, and it's something that a local and a good school board will manage accordingly. We did that in Pendergast. I'm a member of that school board. We just cut our administrative budget. We put more money into the classroom, and we did it responsibly without putting the rest of our facilities in danger, without putting our teachers' salaries in danger. We were able to put that money into the classroom and do it responsibly. That's what a good school board member does. It's not what a good legislator does.
Thank you. Mr. Richard Andrade.
I want to remind everybody, Prop 301, relating to sales tax for education, passed by the voters in 2000 to fund our schools. Today, Arizona schools, 527 job vacancies at crisis levels for full-time teachers and counselors, substitutes, and aides. Another thing I've noticed, because I was invited to our local high school, Callis. I've seen that building. It's 10 years old. It's deteriorating. So when we talk about school budgets and where's the money going to, where is it going to? We made cuts in education. We now owe, the state owes education. The first bill is $316 million. Where did that figure come from? That's because of the cuts to education that have been done over the years. And I listened to school board members talk about this, about we don't have the money to maintain our schools. So let's do what we're supposed to do. Let's properly fund our schools. ESAs, empowerment scholarship accounts. The bad charter schools, let's get rid of them. Let's make cuts where we need to make cuts. Let's take control. Because the bottom line is we need to prepare our children for the 21st century, and the only way we're going to be able to do that, ladies and gentlemen, is making sure, I agree, that yes, let's make sure that the money goes back into our students to prepare them. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is, does Arizona have a funding source to pay for National Guardsmen at the border with Mexico? Should we? And we'll start with Ms. Ceci Velasquez.
I don't think that we should fund that. If that entity would like funding for that, I would think that agency should be able to fundraise or get however that paid a grant or something. I don't think taxpayers should have to be responsible for something like border security. It's been held at the federal level. The feds are dealing with that. That's not something that I don't think that Arizona should be working on right now. We just don't have the money right now.
Thank you. Ms. Crystal Nuttle.
It's the governor's responsibility to secure the borders. It's 50 governors' responsibility. And I would say that Governor Perry is doing a great job, and that's why a lot of the illegal aliens are coming over the border into Arizona. And I would say that the National Guards should be considered to be part of the solutions that a governor would have to deal with the issues at the border.
Thank you. Mr. Martin Quezada.
Well, folks, this is exactly why what we should be doing is pushing Congress to enact comprehensive immigration reform. For us to take other approaches, trying to find money to pay for National Guard and Arizona Guard at the border, we're really spinning our wheels. If comprehensive immigration reform isn't accomplished in Congress, we are spinning our wheels at the state level, and we're only going to get ourselves in trouble at the state level in our federal courts. That's where we should be focusing. Each of us as candidates and each elected official should be calling out to our congressmen, our members of Congress on both sides of the aisle, get this done, get comprehensive immigration reform done. They haven't done that. They have failed us in Congress. When we try to take those issues on here, we only get ourselves into more trouble. Now, this also gets back to priorities. Just a couple of years ago, I think it was State Senator Steve Smith at the time, passed a bill that would create a fund that would build a wall along the border. He said, I've got all the funding in the world, all the people on Arizona are sick of this, we're gonna raise millions of dollars and build a wall. A couple years later, how much money is in that fund? Only a couple $1,000s, not even enough to build one section of fence. This is not Arizonans' priorities. This is extremist priorities. This is not the priorities of most Arizonans. We should be focusing on the priorities of most Arizonans: public education, jobs, healthcare. That's what we should be focusing on, not bringing the National Guard in to guard our border.
Thank you. Mr. Aaron Borders.
Let's talk about jobs and healthcare, or are we going to go to?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Richard Andrade, I'm sorry.
Funding for the National Guard at the border. It's a federal issue. Comprehensive immigration reform had a part in there about funding the border. Our border is more secure than ever before. And maintenance and upkeep on the border has been brought to such a heightened awareness. Our border is secure. If it wasn't secure, why isn't ISIS over here at Westgate like I've heard sometimes before? So am I saying that our border doesn't need to be secured? No, I'm not. I'm saying we need to pass comprehensive immigration reform. Let's take care of that problem. And once again, I also believe that being elected, our priorities need to be education, healthcare, and people's rights here in Arizona. We need to start bugging our legislature, or excuse me, start bugging our congressmen to pass bills that's going to protect our federal border. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Aaron Borders.
I don't even know where to start. I've heard such a mumbo jumbo in the last few seconds here. Let's get down to the brass tacks here. The reason this question is even being asked is because in 1986, Ronald Reagan said we're going to grant amnesty to everybody. We're going to secure our borders. We're going to say close it. Throw our hegemon. We need to have a good relationship. But we're going to secure, know who's coming, who's going, for the security of our nation, just like every country does. Every country in this world is made up of a nation of immigrants. But every country, once they develop and become their own country, for the security of their own people, which is the government's first job, is to know who's coming and going so they can know what good and bad things are happening, and whether we got people bringing Ebola over here or whether we have ISIS coming in here. It was the 2013 federal report from the National Homeland Security, Janet Napolitano, our former governor, who put up that 72% of all border states or border towns have elements of Hezbollah and Hamas in them. So it is a security issue, because I don't think a dirty bomb in Glendale Stadium is going to discriminate whether you're illegal, legal, Democrat, Republican. Should we put a state guard together? The reality is, as we look at the situation, we should look at our federal government and ask them for reform. But my solution is not a broad sweeping immigration reform that does everything for everybody. I say it should be a two-part solution: secure the border first, then we have a conversation about what happens to those people that are here. Ronald Reagan proved it time and time again when he said, we're not going to round people up and grab them up with a gun and send them home. That's just pure rhetoric. But at the same time, as long as the border is not secure, talking about making everybody illegal is nothing more than a magnet to bring more people over. And that same report said that since this conversation started, it's increased.
Time is up. Okay. The next question is, candidates have mentioned expanded health care, expanded safety net, creating jobs, pensions, et cetera. Can you tell us what you believe the proper role of government is? And we'll start this one with Ms. Crystal Nuttle.
Well, the Obamacare is not to be, it shouldn't be federal by any means. And it should be, if there's anything, it should be out of the federal government's hands. And I would say that if we don't get the issues that is first, our priorities first, and that is secure the border, that is to give safety to our families, that is to have education, that taxes, jobs, and health care, they're going to get worse if we don't focus in our first priorities. And that's my insight, that we need to really focus on the priorities, or the health care and taxes, they're not going to mean anything. Because there's 100,000, I understand, of people coming into this country illegally a month, and there is a measuring line of 100,000 that should, that's a year that comes in to be legal citizens. And if we America absorbs 100,000 a month, we're going to be a third world country in 10 years. And where's healthcare going to stand at that point? That's a frightening percentage, but it's facts. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martin Quezada.
The proper role of government, that's the question.
That's the final part of the question that was, can you tell us what you believe is the proper role of government?
Okay, well, I mean, I can tell you what the proper role of government is not. And that's a lot of what's been happening at the state legislature over the last several years. What we should not be doing as a state government is constantly battling against the federal government and saying the federal government's the enemy. We need to do as much as we can to maintain our sovereign rights, and emphasizing that issue and making our federal government out to be bad guys. What we should be doing is working together with our federal government, not making them the enemy. We have done that a lot in the state of Arizona, and there's even propositions on the ballot this November that do exactly that. They make the federal government out to be the bad guy. What the role of government should not be is to make government as small as humanly possible. I mean, now limited government is fine. It is okay to make sure we don't go out of control in terms of growth, but to make it as small as possible so as to eliminate all services that help people is really irresponsible. The role of government should be a government trying to eliminate all taxes. Eliminate taxes as much as possible so that nobody pays anything. Again, we fail to be able to do what we need to do to keep our city secure, to keep our state secure, to keep our people healthy, to keep our people happy. As a government, it is our responsibility to maintain order. That means not only order in terms of law enforcement, that means order in terms of healthcare. That means in terms of making sure our population is healthy, making sure our population is educated, making sure our population is able to prosper in the future and to maintain positivity in the future. When we're constantly creating enemies amongst ourselves, amongst certain groups of people, amongst certain branches of government, we're only shooting ourselves in the foot, and we're only losing the faith of the people we are supposed to be governing.
Thank you. Mr. Richard Andrade.
Proper role of government, it's not to introduce bad legislation that targets specific groups of people. 1070, 1062, shame on us. We are the laughingstock of the country and the world. When I knocked on the door, somebody was from Greece. He says, my family back in Greece know about Arizona, about how prejudiced they are. And I'm like, God, we have that reputation across the world. We need to be protecting people, not passing bad legislation. We need to attract jobs into our state. And the only way we're going to attract jobs into our state is not giving tax cuts and tax breaks to big corporations and businesses. Let's give tax breaks to the middle class, to the working families that are struggling. Because there's many families out there that are struggling, working multiple jobs. We can all shake our head and say, no, there is not. Yes, there is. In this district, LD29, I've seen so many people struggling. We need to start taking care of people. We need to start protecting their rights, everybody's rights. We also need to start doing one thing that we're supposed to do as a state legislature, which is looking out for all people, for the better of all people, not just certain groups. Dark money is having a big influence in our state. It's outside money that's coming in, trying to influence our political process here, our political parties here in Arizona. Let's take care of Arizonians. Let's take care of education. Let's take care of people. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Aaron Borders.
So what I've heard just in the last few seconds is a lot of rhetoric, red meat, platitudes. And let's talk about corporations. Who gives good living wage jobs? Corporations do. And if I'm a corporation and I want to move to Arizona, I want to look for the incentives to be here. If I can go to any state or any country for that matter and run my business, I want to have a favorable tax rate. Now, I want to come in if I'm in a big business, and I want to employ folks and give them good living wage jobs. And that's really what we're lacking here in Arizona. The role of the government is not to be over cumbersome on businesses. As a business owner, I ran a construction company. We had to upgrade because of a regulation on our equipment. And literally the upgrade that could have been done with a welding machine and some pieces of steel wasn't permissible because of the rules and regulation that the government put on us. So we're talking about what government is not. It was over cumbersome. What happened was I had to spend $25,000 I did not have to spend, which in fact, when you hurt the business owners and the corporations and the companies that create these living wage jobs, I had to then not give the bonuses and not be able to give these other incentives to my employees who were well deserving of them. So, you know, when we talk about what government is not to be someone who picks winners and losers, but is a way to create, it's a place to create a favorable atmosphere to attract businesses here, attract companies here, because they're the ones who can provide living wage jobs and get our unemployment rate down from 8% back to the 4% and 5% rates that we are accustomed to, and that makes our district better.
Thank you. Ms. Ceci Velasquez.
The proper role of government, it should be protecting our people and protecting our communities. One of my biggest issues is equal pay, women's rights issues. Why should women be paid 80 cents on a dollar for what a man makes? That's wrong. It's completely wrong. It's not just an Arizona issue, it's a federal issue. So that's my concern and that's something that I'll be fighting for when I am elected. Another thing is women's rights or reproductive rights and the decisions. I don't feel government should have a right to tell me what to do with my body, with my daughter's body. That's up to us. That should not be any type of government involvement. It's not, or who's behind, who lives in what house and who wants to marry who. This is getting ridiculous. We need to start taking care of people, taking care of families, working in our communities to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, each of the candidates will have an opportunity to ask another candidate a question. So we'll start this with Mr. Martin Quezada, who will ask a question of Ms. Crystal Nuttle.
Okay, Ms. Nuttle, well, thank you for running. It's always nice to have, it is always nice to have an opponent and a challenge who you can run against in a nice manner. So I appreciate that. But my question to you is, how will you be able to promise the people of LD29 that you won't be a one-issue candidate? I know that you have very strong passions about CPS and the court system, and due to your personal experiences, tell us how you're going to focus on issues other than those.
Oh, I think I've already described those. The taxpayers is my heartfelt compassion. The money that we spend in Arizona is not, is a very, it just covers every area of the issues of Arizona. And so I feel like I believe and I know that I'm well-rounded with the issues of Arizona and how to strengthen Arizona. Of course, I have my areas and focus on family. I believe every issue we deal with in Arizona is going to impact the family. And how we go about that, it's going to make a huge difference when we get in the trenches and be a voice for the family in all areas of taxes and jobs and health care. I'm saying jobs and health care and taxes are not going to mean anything if we don't get our first priorities covered and dealt with and resolved. And that's a frightening fact, but it's true that we do. And I know that I have that energy in me to address every issue for the best interest of children and family and all of my constituents. And I have gone, and I still am, going door to door to getting the issues of what's that particular family and what they're concerned about. And I'm ready to run the race for them in their behalf. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Ms. Crystal Nuttle for Mr. Martin Quezada.
Okay. All right. You said that you passed bills to strengthen the family, and yes, I am all about the family in every area of life about a family. So my question to you is that you said that you passed bills. Please describe your accolades and your track record and just how you have strengthened the family in detail, not just pass laws, but how you strengthen the family unit on every foundational issue. Thank you.
So how have I strengthened the family unit? Well, I think I've done that a lot through my role, not only as a legislator, but also as an attorney. In my private practice as a lawyer, I represent families. I represent families that are going through difficult situations, oftentimes broken families who are dealing with divorce and child custody issues. My number one priority in those situations is to ensure that those families, in whatever form they come in, are going to be the best fit to be the most successful, to make all of them happy and successful in the future. Sometimes marriages don't work. Sometimes they can be reconciled. And I have turned clients away when they have shown any sign that they are able to reconcile. And I feel proud about that, because that's a paycheck that you turn down. If a family is able to work things out, I encourage them to do so. If they're able to come to an agreement on issues that will avoid the court system altogether, I encourage them to do that, because it develops their skills in negotiating with each other. It develops their skills in how to work with each other, and it sets a good example for those kids as well. So I encourage that as often as I can. At the legislature and as a school board member, and especially as a school board member, families are what we deal with every single day. The kids that go through the Pendergast School District, we try to treat them as a well-rounded child. We're not just educating them in the class, we're trying to set them up so that their family life is good as well. We provide support to families in terms of helping them learn to read, learn the English language, learn about the school system so that they know what the process is for their kids going through the educational system. In Pendergast, we set up a program called the Arizona Dream Academy. It's a university-type program for parents, not for the kids, but for the parents, to learn about the school district, learn about what their kids are facing in classrooms, and learn how to better manage that school system and to make their voices heard in that system. It's been hugely successful. The parents have been thrilled about it, and we continue to expand it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from Mr. Richard Andrade for Mr. Aaron Borders.
Okay, here. This is a real easy one. In our last debates, you said, I am in disagreement with party lines and willing to work closely with Democrats. Your answers have been at times very moderate and almost democratic in nature. Why run as a Republican in a district where Democrat values dominate the social conscience, and why not run as a Democrat?
Well, I appreciate the question, and I would argue that the Democrat social values dominate our district. Our district is 82% pro-life when it's been polled, and both my opponents actually are running as Planned Parenthood endorsees, I should say. And it's very easy to understand. Our district's 72% Latino, and of that Latino view, most of them are Catholic, and the Catholic view hold a sanctity of life value. And that, too, is an issue near and dear to my heart. I am a pro-life candidate and endorsed by Arizona Right to Life, and I'm proudly so. So, you know, that's one reason it sets us apart. The other side that sets me apart as a non-Democrat is I'm a fiscal conservative. I believe that we need to have a modernized system to where when our tax dollars are being sent to the state government, it is used as effectively and as practically as possible. I did work with the insurance associations to modernize our insurance systems and the Department of Insurance, and saved millions of dollars. And I found in my mind, if we could save millions of dollars just by modernizing our system in the insurance department, certainly we could do that throughout all programs. And if that's the case, then that would make me an even stronger champion of the taxpayer, because we're being more efficient as a financial specialist. That's the way I look at things, as efficient and long-term. And that's, I think, what sets me apart. And as a fiscal conservative, I don't look at, in your answer that we saw, that how we fund the forest things is maybe we charge to let people go, you know, be at the forest and go to national parks. That was one of your answers in the Arizona Central questionnaires, was maybe we should charge a fee. I'm not a tax and spend kind of guy. That's not who I am. I'm looking for results.
Thank you. Next question is from Mr. Aaron Borders for Ms. Ceci Velasquez.
Yes, Ceci, although I feel that you were extremely well-intentioned, at times in our last debates, it came to me that you're just a bit overwhelmed with your own personal life. And the question I would have is, what experience do you bring to where day one at the legislature, if you had the privilege to serve, you would be able to hit the ground running? What legislation have you worked on to where you understand how the process works and what hoops you have to jump through just to be successful as a legislator, I should say?
Okay. Well, every day I'm faced with challenges and struggles with my children, with work, with school, things like that. So I'm able to prioritize, which if I can prioritize my own budget, I'm sure I can, help out with the state budget. As far as legislation, I'm not too sure, but a lot of people know that I've worked under Martin Quezada. He's been a mentor. I worked for him in his office, and I've had experience with him. He's discussed many bills with me, including Ban the Box, which is it's a pathway for newly released inmates to have a fair opportunity to get back involved into the workforce. So that would be probably a bill that I would be working on or introducing, since Mr. Quezada will be going to the Senate. But I'm able to prioritize necessities over what, any type of luxury. My kids know that is, if they want a game and we just can't get into the budget, it's gonna be held to the next month or until we can afford it. So I'm able to rationale with my kids. I'm able to work with other people. I'm known to be able to reach out to people and connect people and get things done. I'm really known to get things done as far as whatever my family needs, whatever, when I work at my law offices, whatever needs to be done, I get it done, and I get it done confidently with no problems or issues, and it's done on time. Thank you.
Thank you. And the final candidate question will be asked by Ms. Ceci Velasquez for Mr. Richard Andrade.
Rich, what is your stance on the issues most pressing to Arizona's women, particularly equal pay?
Issues on women issues. Well, I strongly believe women need to be paid equally for the same level of education, because, as somebody mentioned earlier, they're not paid equally. When you have the same amount of education and you're both working at the same place, I do not understand that. I do belong to a union, and that union makes sure that everybody gets paid equally, including women. So that's one thing I strongly believe in. I also believe in women's rights. Our government has no business interfering with a woman's medical decision. So I am pro-choice, and that is why. Because we have no business trying to decide what she should do with her body. And I'm also looking forward to working on women issues to make sure that they're equal, both at home and in the workplace. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now begin the candidate closing statements. The first closing statement will be given by Ms. Ceci Velasquez.
Again, thank you all for coming out tonight. I really appreciate taking the time. I know, I know typically I'm out knocking doors right about now, so I understand how valuable your time is. All I ask is to please vote for me. Follow my website. I have a website for Velasquez for Arizona. It's being updated. I really do. I do care about District 29 and Arizona as a whole. I am a lifelong resident. I have nothing but the best interests at heart and in my mind. I do care about the working families. Being a working single mother, it is tough, but I know that I get things done every single month for those kids of mine. At my job, I'm constantly dealing with deadlines and getting things done there as well. I promise you I will fight for the issues that are most vital to our district. So please, when the ballots are dropped in about a week and a half, or if you go to the polls, please vote for me, Ceci Velasquez. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Aaron Borders.
This November and October 9th, if you do early ballots, you will have a chance for the first time here in our district to do something very historic. You can send a Democrat and a Republican to represent your district. That would be historic. Historically, we've sent 2 Democrats, and by doing so, the representation in a majority House and Senate of Republicans when it comes to representation of the district, I should say, has not been favorable because they've spent most of their time, shooting down every bill that comes their way because of partisan politics. And so what happens is by the time they have a bill, even a good bill like I saw Quezada introduce last session that I actually agreed with, it never made it into committee because you're going to play those partisan games where you vote no on everything. Then in a Republican-controlled House and Senate, which been that way since the 60s, will probably stay the same way, and you won't have your voice heard. So the district has suffered. I have vowed with Richard Andrade a few times that I've told him I will be happy to work with whatever legislation and cross party lines and help carry the water and work with the leadership in our party to get bills passed that will help our district, bipartisan bills with his name on it. I don't care that he's a Democrat. My slogan has been solutions over politics. I have too much to lose for this district to play partisan politics. And the reality is I really, 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 really care about the outcome of this state. And I will do all it is in my power to promote good solutions and stop bad policies, no matter what party puts them in place. And I ask you to go to aaronborders.us and learn more about me, learn more about my family, learn about who I am and where I stand on the issues. And I ask you in November to vote for Richard Andrade and myself and do something historic.
Thank you. Mr. Richard Andrade.
Thank you, everybody, for being here this evening. One thing I do bring is experience. Does experience matter in this job? Yes. To represent people, working families who are struggling, not only struggling, but people who are working in general. To represent you, because I am going to be representing everybody. I want you to know my door's going to always be open for everybody, not one party or the other. It's everybody, because that's our job as a legislator, to listen to the people. And that's what I'm bringing in to this office. I'm looking forward to it. And there's a lot of bills I want to introduce that are going to protect families. They're going to protect employees. But the only way we're going to do that is make sure when you vote for Richard Andrade to put me in that office on November 5th. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening. You have heard different issues, and you've heard the way we feel about them. But the bottom line is we represent the people. So thank you, and have a nice evening.
Thank you. Mr. Martin Quezada.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight again. It's always a pleasure to participate in these debates and to give you all an opportunity to learn about us and see who we are and what issues are important to us. As I'm very confident, you probably didn't always agree with all of my answers or my positions on different issues. And I can assure you that we probably won't always agree in the future if I'm elected. But what I can promise you is my door will always be open, and I will always consider your position on those issues. And every once in a while, you may be able to sway me a little bit. It's happened before. It's happened in the legislature. It actually happens on a very regular basis, especially when you have that open door policy. That will be my policy. I will be able to work across the aisle. I want to clarify something that was said that really is a fallacy. This notion that Democrats are completely ineffective unless you elect Republicans to office is completely false. We just mentioned it earlier today when I said I did have a bill passed by both chambers. I did have it signed by a Republican governor. That Democrats are effective in a number of ways, and a minority party is effective in a number of ways, especially when they are able to work with the majority and craft legislation together. We did that. A perfect example of that is the Medicaid expansion that we passed just a few years ago. That was Democrats and Republicans working together for the benefit of all of Arizona, not just for one party or the other party's issues. Lastly, I do want to mention that all candidates bring something different to the table. When you've got 90 members of a legislature, you're going to have some people that are very good at debates, some people that are very good at talking in front of a camera, some that are good at editing videos or social media, and you're going to have others that are good at other things, working behind the scenes. I'm able to find those skills in my legislators, and I'm able to enhance them. I think I've done that with the team I have up here today, with Rich Andrade and Ceci Velasquez. They bring an incredible experience to the table, both life experience, both a working mother experience, and they will bring that valuable perspective to the legislature with me, and we will be an effective team for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Crystal Nuttle.
Thank you all for coming out here tonight. And I will help we the people to really be a forerunner for America, to bring positive change. And I want to help you to make government really work for you, because government works for you. And I desire to be your choice, but it's your choice to be your choice to be the senator, but it is up to you. I desire to be your voice, but it's your choice, and please vote for me on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. We thank you very much for participating in our forum this evening. And we thank all of you who took the time to come out and inform yourselves before voting. We encourage you to find out more about clean elections and the candidates running for office by visiting www.azcleanelections.gov. A link to the video of this debate, as well as other clean elections debates, will be posted on that site within 72 hours of a scheduled debate. We also ask that you fill out the debate evaluation form you received as you entered and return it to one of our volunteers. Your feedback is important to the Commission. Thank you all for coming tonight.